All right. Here's another tool that we use at the Morton Center, and this talks about how codependency affects the whole person. So we pretty much break a person who's healthy and well balanced into 6 general areas, and we do this not only with a chemically dependent person, but a codependent person. So when we try and teach people about recovery, we try and teach them about trying to learn how to affect all these areas so that they're dealing with themselves in a much more healthy way. We can look at it as well with the codependent as dealing with themselves or learning to be more healthy in all these areas. But I also want to look at it today in such a way that how it affects you in such a way that it's unhealthy. So if we think about the physical status of somebody, if we're being physically attentive, then we're paying attention to getting exercise. We're going to the doctor. We're going to the doctor preventatively. We're going to the doctor when we're sick. We're getting enough sleep. We're eating. Okay. So if we're at high levels of codependency, many times we're forgetting to do these things. Okay, or we're just not engaging in them. Mentally, we see the codependency affects us because we are obsessing about things. We're worrying a lot. We're not able to keep on task. It affects our ability to explore new things, to be curious. So it really affects our mental state. Oftentimes, the next category, spirituality, people will lose faith in whatever either it was religious or spirituality. They begin to feel like they can't be helped. There's no one there to help them. They don't feel connection to a higher power, and really begin to sometimes even blame their higher power for not helping. Okay. Socially, hallmark of codependency is this large degree of isolation. So if I'm being socially balanced, I recognize that I need people in my life to help me. I need people that are supportive. I need people to share my problems with, to share what's happening in my daily events. But with chemical dependency, I as the codependent frequently respond in such a way that I want to protect and hide. It's hard to share some of the things that are going on in our life because we feel like people either won't understand or they will stigmatize us. Okay. Emotionally, I talked about this previously, just the inability to express our emotions and to or our emotions just to be way more exaggerated. Volitional has to do with making choices. So I lose the ability to recognize that I have options in my life, that I have the ability to change my focus, because if we're codependent, many times that focus is on the other person. If I change what I would like to do, then I begin to think that I can change and put the focus on myself. I can get better. I can change my mind if I need to. I can say no, which I think is a very hard thing for people who are codependent to do. So just being able to understand that I have options. Common things that people that are codependent might say or think. I can only be happy if they're safe and sober, and safe and clean and sober. So again, my happiness, the feelings of my self-worth are entirely dependent on whether this person is going to be clean and sober. I want to reiterate again that you can get into sobriety for codependency regardless of what the other person is doing. I think this is very difficult for people to see when they first start to recognize codependency. They really truly believe that the only way they're going to be okay is if that other person's okay. And there's kind of this trend that we see in recovery is that a person is beginning to learn about codependency because they become aware about it, and maybe their loved one has finally gotten to the point where they're going to begin to get sober. Well, it's very natural that if they begin to get sober, I'm gonna feel good. You know, if I'm codependent and they're starting to get sober and get into recovery, it's natural that I'm gonna feel good. But the danger is that a lot of people do struggle in early recovery, and they're not always going to stay sober initially. You know, there's maybe some bumps in the road. So I still need to treat my codependency regardless of what they're doing. Okay, so whether they ever even get sober or whether they're getting sober and maybe you're having some bumps in the road, I need to focus on getting clean or getting recovery myself. All right. Next point. I want you to like me. I don't feel okay if you're upset with me or you don't like me. So there again, my emotions are just on this complete roller coaster, right in line with the person that's chemically dependent. So I'm people pleasing. My main goal is to please and protect you, even if that means putting you before my needs. So it's again this feeling of I have to have this person feel okay, to the extent that I don't even take care of myself, or I don't put myself first. And I don't know what I want what you want. So, it's interesting because, I've been focusing mostly, or this entire lecture, on how codependency relates to a family member that has chemical dependency or codependency. And a lot of times we have people that have come to our class that, codependency is very strong when there's a family of where there's alcoholism or drug abuse going on, but it's also found in families just where there's high stress. Where there's maybe illness in the family, where the family has to sort of rally around this one person. Everybody gets a little bit, my word is wonky. They just get kind of confused about how we make the family operate, how it functions well. So I just wanted to throw that in because it's not just this, I don't want you to look at it as it's also stigmatized around just alcoholism and drug dependency. It can just happen in families where there's just where the patterns of communication are off, or whether there's just high stress situations going on. So a lot of times you see this classically. I don't know what I want. I want what you want. People can be codependency without the chemical dependency going on. Okay, so there is hope. This is a disease, or this is a disorder with strong defense mechanisms. So give yourself some time, okay? I know when I teach this class, I don't expect, there's no way after 10 weeks of being in this class that you're going to be like, got it, I'm out there, I know how to do this, okay? Frequently it takes the support, it takes some therapy. Just give yourself the ability to change. If you consider that maybe you've been doing this for many years, these kind of behaviors, it's not going to just change overnight. It's also more common to accept the evidence that there is an addiction, that we can see that chemical dependency, but it's difficult sometimes for us to accept that there's these kind of behaviors that go along with the codependency. They're a lot more, they just seem to be not as apparent for people. So it's easier to point fingers and say, oh, they've definitely got an addiction, or they've got a alcohol problem, than it is to look at either ourselves or maybe even somebody else and recognize the behaviors that are directly related to that kind of strong relationship with the chemical dependency and codependency. Again, I like to reinforce, remember that it comes from love, because I think frequently we beat ourselves up when we hear about all these symptoms that go along with it. So remember, you do this because you love somebody, all right? You can get into recovery even though your loved one is still unhealthy. And the best results we see come from gaining help and support. So help coming from either therapists, help coming from just being able to confide in somebody you trust. Maybe it comes from Al-Anon, it comes from support groups. So, and then just getting educated as well. So some of the resources we have locally, like I said, I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, but I am at the Morton Center. You can call our phone number, which is 502-451-1221, and talk to somebody at our resource center. Appreciate you so much wallowing through this with me, because I know that it's something that is very sometimes hard to hear. Hopefully it'll raise some awareness, not only in you or maybe in some people that you might know. Thank you very much.